Uh, I only started. I only started one game because I was hurt my senior year. So yeah, so in '98, I was a starter, and we won that game here at Clemson. And then in '99, the week before is when I broke my, or I mean, I dislocated my hip at Georgia Tech.
Right.
So I was out for that game.
What's it like playing in this rivalry?
Um, Man, it's an amazing experience. I mean, it's amazing in many ways. You talk about it all year long. You get to have bragging rights for a whole year, and it's just always a competitive game, and it's always emotional, personal, all the above, and you try to contain your emotions as much as you can, but it's going to be emotional, just because of how much. How electric the game is and just how it's built up. Two really good programs that get to go to battle every year, and it's a really really fun rivalry. I know there's so much history behind it. One of the longest ones in the country, and I know it got disrupted, I guess, in 2020 during the COVID time. But it's just it's fun. It's just a ton of fun, and you get to rally around your teammates, and it's kind of what. These rival games, that's what you play college football for, and that's why you coach at the college level. I mean, it's an amazing experience.
Fred, is it more emotional, stressful as a player or a coach?
Oh, man. Wow, that's good. I think, it hits in both ways. You're as a player, again, you're thinking about it all year long and you're talking about it all year long. And then, in the end, you're the guy on the field that's got to go do it. And so there's definitely tons of emotions and a lot of pressure to go perform in those games. And then just on the other side of the whistle as a coach, you just don't have that physical part of the game. All right, but now it's just a mental challenge, and it's a chess match, and it's controlling your emotions. How can you get your players prepared and ready to go and contain those emotions as much as possible so you can go execute? And then you can't go out there and do it for them. So just getting them prepared, I think, is the biggest, challenge and getting them ready for, these type of games.
When you're getting your guys ready for South Carolina this year, do you turn on the tape against Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, things like that, where they were successful? Do you look at Missouri, Florida, where maybe they were less successful?
Yeah. Well, I mean, our kids, our players watch all year long too, and they see everything that goes on, especially when you're talking about a rival game like this and a team that you're playing. And there is no question, as we saw last week, what South Carolina is capable of doing and what they did. And so they're going to come in here with a ton of confidence, as they should, and our guys know that. Our guys know that and see that, and it's just going to make us prepare even more and more and be ready for it. And so yes, as a coach, we look at all the different games that they've played, and what kind of schemes they're using and how they used them in different games and that sort of thing. And then just try to match personnel best you can and have fun with it.
What do you think of their two corners, and have they played as much man all season as they showed Saturday night against Tennessee?
Yeah, they definitely play a lot of man, but they mix up other coverages as well, and they did play a little bit more, against Tennessee. Both their left and right corner, 24 and 28, do a good job, man. They really did a really good job this past week, of preventing some of the bigger plays that Tennessee is used to making. And then, number 9, Cam, he came in for the first time as a nickel back and really as a corner playing nickel, and has done a really, really good job there as well. So, so they got 3 corners that are playing a good bit and have a lot of confidence, especially after this past game.
Coach, you talked about DJ as a runner before, but how do you pick your spots and what kind of a weapon is that when you choose when to kind of unleash him?
Yeah, he's got to be ready the whole game. I mean, we're gonna have plenty for him in the passing game and running game as we do every week. Anytime you can get that extra hat in the run game and influence people that way, I think it's to our advantage. And like we talked about in the past, DJ has a lot of confidence right now running the football. So just being able to complement what he does best and some of the play schemes that we have available for him is how we're going to use him throughout the game. But we'll use it all game long, and I know he ran a lot last week, but that's part of it whenever you're trying to manufacture some rushing yards, and we were able to do that last week just in a different way. And kind of like I said, most of the year is what's neat about our group offensively is being able to manufacture either yards or points or just production in different ways. Whether it's a running back running for 100 or 200 yards, or a quarterback running for, I think he had 89 or 90 yards last week, or throwing it, or just mixing it in, and that's, to me, that's what you want in an offense, as far as not being so predictable and just being one-dimensional.
How would you describe his running style?
DJ's power. Power. He's very powerful, and I'll tell you what, I wish I don't have this stat, but making guys miss is very impressive. He almost every time makes the first guy miss, and that's a combination of his vision is very, very good, and he's going full speed in one direction, and he can change direction very quickly with one step. He doesn't have to patter his feet, break down, and then have to redirect. He can redirect off of one cut, which a lot of people can't do, and so he's been able to use that move successfully, and has done a good job of making that first guy miss.
He couldn't really do that as well last year with his knee, right?
Yeah, he was definitely heavier last year, didn't move as well, and then he had the knee stuff too. So kind of a combination. But he did have it. He did show it a couple times last year. Made a guy miss in the hole a couple times, but a lot more this year.
He got hurt, I think, his freshman year against Miami when y'all ran that.
That's right. Yeah,
Power, I guess, maybe
he did.
Did it take some buy-in? Did y'all have to get him to buy into being a runner?
Yeah.
More recently.
I think so. I think that hit that he took against Miami, like you said, his freshman year. I think he had an AC joint injury when that happened, and first off he had to learn how to deal with injury. He really wasn't used to that, but he has always been a guy that felt comfortable and confident in running power type plays and running, attacking people and not afraid of contact. He's always been really, really good at that because of his big body. He's just got confidence in that. And he's got a lot of strength, man. His lower body is really, really, really strong. And then through the years, the last 2 years, he's been able to gain more and more confidence with his speed on top of that, and his quickness and his vision. And so I think right now, his confidence as a runner has been really good, and he's been able to utilize that.
You guys were 14-19 on third down against Miami on Saturday. When you look back at the game and you see that kind of stat, is this something that gives you confidence with that success rate, or is it something that you tell the offense maybe we don't want to put ourselves in that situation?
Yeah, third down is always a big stat. You always want to, our goal is to be at least 45% conversion on third down, for every game. And going into the season, that was something we really needed to work on, was our third down percentage. And we're in the top 15 in the country right now in third down. Another thing was red zone. Our red zone was not very good last year. We're third or fourth in the country right now in red zone. So I'm very proud of our offense as far as, those two categories, the main two categories that we really focused on, have shown tremendous improvement. But third down wise, man, you practice it every Wednesday, and we had a heck of a Wednesday last week as far as our third down against our defense, and it was good because it showed a lot of confidence, and it gains confidence not in the players but in the coaches too, and so our players are really confident right now in that situation. And, you know, a big part of third down, too, is not getting into third and long. You know, you don't want to have a situation where you're in third and long all the time. And so we were able to do that. You know, we were pretty productive in those situations, like you saw on Saturday.
Brandon, you've talked to us a lot the last year and a half maybe about DJ's demeanor, his makeup. It seems like the things we talked about in the offseason, he's gone through some of that even during this season. Is there even more appreciation for who he is and how he handles things and how he bounces back when things maybe don't always go his way?
Yeah, you know, I can't say enough, as you guys know. I mean, I can't say enough about that kid and DJ and his heart and his character and his perseverance. Never have wavered in his work ethic. And, you know, we saw some heavy adversity last year, you know. And then the best part about it is, you know, you try to learn from the adversity. And that's what he's been able to do. And he had some adversity this year too, but he's able to respond. And that's what life is about, right? I mean, life is about how you respond to adversity. And it's not always going to go well. I mean, y'all can look around college football and pro football and individuals that are stars that are not perfect and that go through adversity every single year. And it's just how you can respond to that. And so the most impressive thing about DJ is how he responds and how he attacks it and doesn't, you know, just doesn't get into a lull. He always responds the right way. And so that's what I'm most proud of. And he's been able to show that a lot this year.
It's kind of funny because they've got a quarterback who, much like DJ, came into last season with these massive expectations, and then it didn't go the way that it should have. Do you see sort of similarities in them at all, and obviously very different approaches that they took to dealing with that adversity?
Yeah, you know, I haven't followed Spencer Rattler that much. I know this year, you know, as people say, he hasn't been super consistent, I guess, until this past game. But, man, he's a heck of a player. And so it shows, you know, what he's able to do when you look at the game this past week. And, you know, really there's a lot to do with, you know, the confidence of that quarterback, but just as important is the supporting cast around him, and then how you deal with it, and how you deal with it as a player, and how you have to still do your role as a leader. And I know Spencer enough that you know, I know he's a leader too. So, but yeah, there's definitely some, as far as expectations coming in, a little bit different, but in some ways similar as well. Just having those high expectations when you're coming into a program and expected to be the guy that saves everything, you know, and you know, that's not easy to handle sometimes, you know.
That position particularly, it's not like you
Yeah.
get to like work out your kinks in the shadows where nobody's paying attention.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
spotlight the whole time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Brandon, is crowd noise in a rivalry game a little louder, a little meaner, a little more intense?
Yeah, it is when you're playing away, especially. You know, we're used to. They haven't been here since when was it, 2018, right? So it's, first off, it's good to be at home in rivalry games. So yes, it is definitely a much more heated crowd. It's definitely a louder crowd. But like I said, when you're at home and you have the environment and the fans that we have, it's always good to be, you know, at home here in Death Valley. But when you go to their place, you know, I mean, it's definitely a noise factor, and you got to prepare for that.
Question about Antonio Williams. So I know his high school wide receivers coach, and he was saying he doesn't even really have touchdown celebrations because he's just so mellow. The game's
Yeah.
too big for him. I mean, how much do you think just his kind of perspective and kind of evenness is kind of part of why he's been so successful?
Yeah, I mean, his demeanor, I think when I describe his demeanor, I just think of poise, and I think of a guy that, you know, there's no stage too big or too bright for him. He's been in a lot of different scenarios now that we've gone through 11 games. And so he really hasn't wavered in any of those situations. And so I'm very excited about him and proud of him on what he's been able to do. And it really, a lot of it, like you're saying, comes down to the poise that he has, especially as a young kid. That's hard to do.
Coach, South Carolina has a tight end playing some running back. If you needed that from somebody, who would that be in your group?
tight end playing running back. They all volunteer for that. I don't know if we have one particular guy, but man, our tight end group has been very versatile too. So, Davis Allen can do it all. He can do it all. He's been super productive in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I'm sure they would all volunteer to do that any chance they get.
What do you see from Mitchell Mays getting a big chance in the last couple of weeks? And
Yeah.
how's that change the dynamic of the offensive line? He seemed to be like a good backup for a lot of spots.
Yeah, he did really good against Louisville. Had some mistakes, but for the most part was very productive against Louisville. And first start, I'm sure he had a lot of pressure on him to perform well. And so, and then he carried it over very well against Miami. Again, just showed us that we can be really comfortable with him in there. And so he's just gaining confidence each week and has done very, very well each week. So excited about him, getting more and more opportunity. That's what this program is about, next man up mentality, and that's what he's been able to do.
Going back to the rivalries, that somebody who's experienced all levels, if you had to describe it to somebody on the outside, is there, an instance, a happening that kind of best describes what it's all about for you?
Yeah. I mean, I just think when you're talking about a rival game, first off, I'm from Pennsylvania, so I didn't know much about Clemson or South Carolina growing up until I started getting recruited by the schools, and you just quickly learn when you get down here, I mean, immediately how important it is. And you hear about stories across the state of people that literally not just talk about the game, but will save every penny that they have so that they can try to make it to one of these games. And when you hear all these stories about these people doing this and finding ways to come to these games and really saving up and giving up so many things to come to a game, it makes it personal and it makes it that much more exciting because we know that this is not a game just for the coaches and the players. This is a game for the fans. This is a game for bragging rights for the whole year. And when you think about that and you think about all the different stories that happen throughout the year and of people wanting to get to this game, it makes it that much more special. So, just being able to be a part of something like this it makes it fun. It makes it memorable. You never forget this stuff. You never forget these games. And that makes it special.
What do you think when Coach Sweeney put the countdown clock in the facility?
Yeah, I mean, again, it shows the priority, and that's one of the goals of our program is to win the state championship game, and that's this week. And so, when you talk about that as one of your goals for your program, man, we're gonna put that clock up there so you know exactly how much time you have until you get to play them again. And so, we obviously are on a one game season week in and week out, but there's always that little asterisk beside the South Carolina game just because of the rival.
Brandon, when you were, between the time you were a player and then you came back as a coach, were you as invested in this rivalry as ever? I mean, when Dabo was going through that 5-bomb stuff a few years ago, and now that you've got a chance to win 8 in a row, were you still invested in that?
Yeah, you always are whenever you're a former player. You're always, looking at the different articles throughout the week leading up to the game. You're looking at the different interviews that are happening throughout the week leading up to the game, and then obviously paying attention, to the game. I got to come to maybe 1 or 2 during that time when I was a player, since I was a player until I came back here as a coach. Obviously, I was coaching at other places at the time, but it's always in your heart. It's always on your mind this week, and so you're invested. You're invested, no doubt about it. And so you're always trying to find ways to get information and pull for your team as you go through the week leading up to this rivalry game.
How do you go about explaining it, the meaning of the game to some of the guys that aren't from the area?
Yeah, I mean, come to it and experience it, and that kind of shows it all. It says it all. That's the number one thing is you try to get them to come to it, so you can not just talk about it but them actually experience it on game day. That's what you try to do. That's why you try to get as many recruits as you possibly can on these days, because it's special and it's an emotional deal and it's a personal deal, and you want those guys to experience it as well.
Do you have a favorite memory of the rivalry?
I guess I think the biggest would probably be when we won here in '98.
Brad Scott's last game.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was a big deal. Obviously, again, the two teams we were not very good. We weren't very good. They weren't very good. But it meant the world to everybody that week, and we came out on top. I can't remember the exact score, 14-6 or 14 to something. It wasn't a high scoring affair, but it was a game that we came out on top, and that was a big memory for me as a player for sure.
You guys carried Coach West and his family off the field that day, right?
We did. We did. It was his last game, and it was what was that?
28-19.
It was 28-19. Oh wow, we scored more points than I thought. But
Quarterback was good then.
yeah, that day. We did. We did. We carried Coach off, and he was the guy that I played for 4 years. Really a special guy, and had a lot of impact on me and a lot of those players that day.
Any questions for Coach from Zoom? Anybody else in the room? Matt, go ahead.
Brandon, this is Matt. I was just going to ask, now you said you wanted to watch the film and kind of see how the offensive line plays. Just what did you think going back and watching it?
Yeah, they really did good. There was a few things, technique-wise that they could clean up on, but that's every game, As far as their communication, their toughness, physicality, they did a really, really good job of. And I think, Mitchell did a good job, again, coming in and playing a pretty clean game. One of the biggest things that we talked about coming into last week's game against Miami was being more disciplined, especially with the penalties. And we had no penalties on offense and very few as a total team. And so that was something that, like I said, we really wanted to improve on, and we did a lot better job in that game.
And then with South Carolina's defensive line, is there anything that stands out about that group?
Absolutely. They got some guys up front that are very talented. And, really all four of them have shown a lot of spark and a lot of a lot of talent. We recruited most, if not all, of those guys here at Clemson, and so their defensive line for sure is a part of their team that is very talented and has made some plays.
Anyone else for Coach? All right, appreciate it, Coach.
All righty, thank y'all.
Eric Carter will be up next.